Hello, I'm Multiprometheus1, and welcome to another quick review. And I just saw Jigsaw. Yeah, I just saw Jigsaw. No one's ever made that joke before. Yeah, I just got back from the theater, I just saw Jigsaw, and before I tell you about it, I want to mention a few things. Number one, this review is going to be very vague. And the reason why this review is going to be very vague is quite simply because the Saw series is one of those series that you can't really say much about at all without spoiling anything. Because the series depends so much on plot twists and turns in the story and stuff. Like, it's really hard to say anything about a Saw movie without spoiling something, and I really don't want to spoil things, so this review is going to be very, very vague. There are a lot of things that you're going to be like, can you elaborate on that a little bit? And I can't, or else I would be going into spoiler territory, and I really try to keep my quick reviews spoiler-free, because unlike my In Defense ofs, which are geared toward people who have already seen the movie, my quick reviews are geared towards people who haven't seen the movie. So, you know, I really try to keep it spoiler-free. The other thing I want to say is, why on earth does this, it's more of a question, why on earth does the Saw series get such a bad rap? Like I really want to know why. So many people dismiss the Saw series as just mindless gore and nothing but people getting tortured and it's horrible, sick stuff. So many people dismiss the Saw series as that and only that. And all the people that dismiss it as that clearly haven't actually seen a Saw movie. Because, is there gore? Yes. Are there people getting hurt in certain ways? Yes. But that's never the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie is always the story, and the twists and turns in the story. There's constant plot twists, there's constant dropping little clues as to what's going on, and really each movie is just a roller coaster ride with all these plot twists and all this misdirection. You think it's going this way, it's actually going this way. They are very, very clever and intelligent and well put together films. And the gore and the torture is really only a small part of each film. Like, it only takes up like a relatively small amount of the runtime. The main focus is always the mystery and the story the film is telling. The gore and the torture and stuff is just background. And even the first movie, the first Saw movie, has almost no gore or violence whatsoever. Even the unrated cut. Like, the first Saw movie has almost no gore or violence whatsoever. The first Saw movie, really, if it weren't for all the language, would probably be rated PG-13. Like, it's really... The Saw series is just so infamous for being nothing but mindless gore and nothing but people getting tortured in disturbing ways, and you'd have to be a sick psychopath to watch the movies. And, like, no. Not at all. Anyone who says that clearly hasn't actually seen a Saw film. So, yeah, I'm just gonna... So, before anyone says, oh, Prometheus is one of those sick Fs who watches the Saw films, they're not what you think they are, okay? Watch the first Saw movie, you will see what the series actually is, and not what society thinks they are. So my recommendation for you is just... I think on Amazon there's a collection of all 7 of the original Saw movies for like $10. I think because I got mine for $10 and it's got all 7 Saw films. My recommendation is just spend the $10, get that collection, and you will find a series that is not what you thought it was. That being said, let's talk about Jigsaw. Now, I first saw the first Saw. Yeah, everyone makes that joke. I first saw the first Saw about, I want to say, 2 or 3 years ago. And very shortly after I saw the first Saw, like very shortly, like within a few weeks, I ended up going on Amazon and buying that $10 collection that had all 7 movies. because when I saw the first film, I was like immediately hooked, and when I saw I could see all the rest of them for $10, I totally, it was more like $9. Like I totally went for it. So I first saw the first Saw about 2 or 3 years ago, I think. A year and a half at the most recent, but I think it was at least 2 years ago. I saw the first Saw movie, and I loved it. I loved the twists and turns. I loved the way it didn't spoon feed everything to you. There was mystery. Every time you thought the movie was going this one direction, it sent you in another direction. And the plot twist at the end is like one of the greatest plot twists in film history, in my opinion. You totally don't see it coming, and yet they were hinting at it the whole time. It's like the best plot twists are the ones where they were hinting at it the whole time and you never noticed. And this is it's one of the greatest plot twists in the history of film, in my opinion, because they were hinting at it so much throughout the entire movie, and yet you never noticed. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, the second through seventh ones, they do have more gore, they do have more violence, but it's still never the focus. The focus is always the story and the mystery, and the sequels are done very, very well as well. And I just absolutely love this Saw series. I mean, I was watching the next one in the series whenever I got the opportunity, and when I got to the last one, it was very like bittersweet. And when I finished the last one, the one titled The Final Chapter, it was titled The Final Chapter. The name of the seventh movie is Saw: The Final Chapter. And so I thought it was going to be the last one. I thought they weren't ever going to do another one. And so when I came to what I thought was going to be the last film in the series ever, I was like legitimately crushed. I felt like a close friend had moved away and I was never going to see him again. You know, I can always watch the movies again, just like I can always look back at videos and pictures of me and my friend doing stuff together, but I'm never going to be able to experience things for the first time again with this series. Just like, because the friend moved away and I'm never going to see him again, I don't get to experience new things with them again. You know, it was like something that I loved so much had gone away, and I would never see it again. Fast forward like a year and a half to 2 years later, and I see that not only are they doing another film for the first time in 7 years, but they already finished filming it, and it's going to be coming out later in the year. I was like, my friend's coming back! I was so excited. I was so excited there was like watermelon shooting out of my ears. I was that excited. And yeah, this is the first Saw movie in 7 years, and does it deliver? Was it worth the wait? Let's talk about it. So, Jigsaw, the first thing I'm going to say about Jigsaw is, first of all, I was a little confused about the title. I was like, the tradition of the movies is the word Saw and then the Roman numeral number of what movie it is. Saw 2 is Saw, the second one is Saw Roman numeral 2, the third one is Saw Roman numeral 3, and etc., with the exception, of course, Saw: The Final Chapter. And so I was like, why isn't this one called Saw Roman numeral 8? Why are they calling it Jigsaw? But then when I actually saw the movie, like, it kind of made sense why they titled it that. But again, I can't really go more into it without spoiling things. So right off the bat, what I'm going to say about Jigsaw is it's a Saw movie. If you're a fan of the Saw franchise, you will like this movie. It's a Saw movie. So many reboots nowadays don't feel like the original series. They don't feel like they're a part of the original series because they don't feel like they're a part of the original series because the people behind it weren't there at the beginning. They weren't seeing it through all the ups and downs that went in its original run. They didn't learn from the mistakes, and so a lot of reboots nowadays just feel very disconnected and very, very just not what you would expect from the series. This one doesn't. And the main reason why this one doesn't is because a lot of the same people that were behind the original 7 were behind this one. Berg, Coles, and Kaufman, the 3 producers, I think I pronounced their names right. Hoffman? Yeah, Hoffman, because one of the characters was named after him. Yeah, those 3 producers, they were the producers of this film. Kevin Gruder, however you pronounce his name, he was the editor and director of several of the movies in the original series. He is the editor of this film. Of course, James Wan and Lee Winnell, the 2 guys behind the first Saw, they were producers on this film as well. So some of the same people, a lot of the same people that were behind the original series were behind this one. And because of that, they all know what a Saw movie is supposed to be. They all know the whole idea behind it, the traditions, the creative aspects that are part of the series identity. They all know. So this really does feel like a Saw movie. And it has almost everything that made the original 7 films great. It has the plot twists, the constant twists and turns. It has the intriguing mystery, the dropping of clues here and there that lead you in one direction when really it's going another. Like, it has all the creative things that made the original 7 great. And so if you like the Saw series, you will like this film. There is one part of the movie, there's one very big part of the movie where you're just going to be like, what? How on earth is that possible? I mean, we saw this happen in the other movies, and then this happened, which means that right there is impossible. How? And the way they go about it is like, it is just as mind-blowing as something you would expect from a Saw series. Like, so yes, this is a Saw movie. If you like the Saw series, you will like this one because a lot of the same people were behind it, and it has the same identity as the other 7. In terms of the story is a bit shaky in some places. There are some things that don't completely add up. But then again, a lot of things didn't completely add up in the original 7 either. It's kind of part of the series' identity now. So I guess it's kind of excusable. But the story is a little shaky in some places, but overall it is creative. It's not just a retread of something that the original 7 movies done. There are references to the original 7 movies, but they're not just rehashing everything they've already done. They do something new and creative with it. If you've seen the trailers, then you know that the main series of games, the main game of the film, takes place in a barn. And I thought that was and when I did my best to avoid trailers because I didn't want anything spoiled for me at all. So when I saw the film, and when I watched the movie and I saw that the game was going to take place in a barn, I was like, wow, this is actually a really creative environment. Not only because it's so radically different than what we've seen. The original 7 movies, the games always took place in a very industrial, factory-like setting. So when you place this one in a barn, it's not only very different and very refreshing with how new it is, but there's also a lot of creative things you can do in the environment of a barn. And so I thought it was a great decision to place the main game of the film in a barn. And they do a lot of creative things with it. They don't do everything that they could have done with it. There are a few things they didn't really go all the way with it, like they probably should have. Edward, are you climbing? He's one of my guinea pigs. They don't go all the way with it, but they do a lot with it, and I was very impressed that they came up with the idea of placing the main game in a barn. Of course, the game is not the complete focus of the film, as it usually isn't with the Saw films. There's the mystery with the police force and the FBI, and these organizations trying to figure out what's going on, and that is done very well in this too. It's not done as well as it was in the original 7, but it is done relatively well. It is done very well. If you will get invested. You will get interested in what's going on. You will get sucked into what's going on, and you will enjoy it. It is done well. And of course the plot twist at the end. The plot twist at the end is just as good of a plot twist as you would expect from the Saw films. It does completely turn your interpretation of what had been going on in the movie on its head. And they were hinting at it towards the entire time. It is exactly what you would expect from a plot. It is as good as you would expect a plot twist in the Saw series to be. So yeah, basically, the main thing I can say about it without spoiling anything is it's a Saw movie. It's a good Saw movie. If you like the Saw series, you will like this one. It doesn't go all the way with what it was trying to do, and that does kind of hold it back at some points, but overall it was a good installment to the series. The only major problem I had with the film, and this is really only the major problem I had, and I'm going to try really hard to say this without spoiling anything. The seventh film, which was the last film in the original series, the seventh film ends on a very big plot twist / cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger in the form of a plot twist, or a plot twist in the form of a cliffhanger. It ends with a gigantic revelation that's like one of the biggest plot twists in the entire series. Like, it's huge. And they don't really follow up on it in this movie. And in the entire movie, I'm like, that huge, insane, one of the coolest plot twists in the history of film just happened at the end of the last movie. Are we going to mention that at all? Like, are we going to reference that at all? Anything? Maybe drop a person's name here? No? Nothing? Yeah, the movie makes no reference to it whatsoever. And, like, I have a theory as to why, but that theory would involve me spoiling things. But yeah, the big, gigantic, huge plot twist at the end of the last film, they don't follow up on it at all in this movie. It's not even referenced. At all. And that leads me into the other main problem I had with the film. The other main problem I had with the film was it does feel disconnected to the original series in some way. It has a lot... It does stay true to the identity of the Saw series. And therefore, if you like the Saw series, you will like this movie. But it feels, in a lot of places, quite disconnected to the original film. To the original film series. The Jigsaw Killer himself is, of course, mentioned. The name of the movie is Jigsaw. So he's, of course, referenced, and what he did does play a large part in the film. But other than him, there is only one other character from the original 7 movies that's referenced in the movie. And it's a very brief reference, like one sentence. Oh, this is where so-and-so did this. That's the only reference. Like, other than the Jigsaw Killer being a part of the film's plot, there are almost no references to specific events or characters of the original 7 films. And on the one hand, I'm kind of glad they did that, because then it would feel like Rogue One, where like the constant references to the original are like thrown in your face and punch you in the face. But at the same time, you do realize 7 other movies before this one happened, right? You do realize 7 other movies in this series happened, right? I mean, you make a few references to the general concepts of what happened in the original 7 movies, but other than the Jigsaw Killer himself playing a part in the plot of the film, other than that, there are almost no references to any specific events or characters of the original 7 films. At all. And the entire movie, I'm like, are we going to reference those 7 movies, like, at all? Congratulations, you put the Jigsaw Killer in the movie, that's great, but... So, because the only specific character or event other than the Jigsaw Killer from the original 7th series is only mentioned in like a brief sentence, like so-and-so did this, the movie does feel significantly disconnected. Like, it does take place after the 7th movie. It is the 8th movie chronologically, as well as the 8th movie in the series. Like, it does take place after the original series of 7 films. I mean, it is made clear when you watch the movie. But it just feels very disconnected in terms of the story of the original 7 films in a lot of places. And that does hurt the film when you are a Saw fan. It does. And I really wish I could go more in depth with what I'm saying here, but I just can't without spoiling anything. And that leads me to my final point of this quick review. My final point of this quick review is, it won't spoil anything specific about the original 7, because again, there's the lack of references. But you will have less of an appreciation of, you will have a lot less of an appreciation of what happens in this film if you do not see the original 7 first. So the original 7 is not watching the original 7 films is not entirely necessary in order to understand this film because of the lack of references. But I do recommend that you watch the original 7 films first. Again, all 7 of them on DVD for $9 on Amazon. Like, I recommend you watch the original 7 films before this one, just so you gain an appreciation, more of an appreciation for this film. So yeah, final thoughts. It's a good Saw movie. If you like the Saw series, you will like this movie. A few problems, but overall, a good Saw movie, worth your time, worth your movie ticket, and worth a DVD purchase in a few months, definitely. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next time. See you then.